Uchiha.
He trusted you!
I hope you're ready to die.
And you dare to come here to face me with such weak resolve?
You dare use my own spells against me, Potter?
I'd just like you to make a choice.
Don't ignore me, Severus.
Either align yourself with the Uchiha, launch the coup d'etat, and die alone with the rest of your clan.
We both know Lord Voldemort has ordered the Malfoy boy to murder me.
Or side with the Leaf, save your little brother before the revolt, and then help us eliminate all the other Uchiha.
You must be the one to kill me, Severus. It is the only way.
The only one that can handle this mission is you, a double agent for both the Uchiha and the Leaf. Itachi, there is no one else.
Only then will the Dark Lord trust you completely. Don't tell me now that you've grown to care for the boy.
I have told you the whole truth. I have always lied to you.
Please.
And asked for your forgiveness.
You have your mother's eyes.
You don't ever have to forgive me. Know this.
After all this time.
No matter what, I will love you always.
Naruto and Harry Potter are two franchises that, despite their obvious and glaring differences, surprisingly share a lot in common. They both follow the story of the titular character, an orphan boy who learns more about the magic system of his world all the while growing up with the story. He starts the story with his biggest obstacle being the monster that killed his parents, and although Harry and Naruto handle their monsters differently, by the end of the show, these monsters are no longer an issue. From the beginning of the story, the main character makes two friends, a boy and a girl, and their trio becomes one of the most iconic trios in all of fiction. The girl is a close friend who a lot of fans ship with the titular character, and the boy is a guy who eventually leaves the team and is sorely missed but eventually finds his way back to them. They even both have sequels starring the original cast's children, both of which are widely agreed upon to be far inferior to their predecessors, and for a large percentage of the audience, these sequels tarnish the memory of the original story and as such can never be accepted as canon despite what official sources say. Clearly the stories have a lot in common, and the best part is Naruto came out 2 years after Harry Potter first debuted, so I don't know. Coincidence? I think not.
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
Yet of all these similarities, I find the most interesting parallel between these two great stories to be the reveal that one of the biggest antagonists in the story was actually a double agent who infiltrated the group of villains who were the main antagonists of the story and was secretly leaking information to the wise old mentor who eventually died and was soon followed by this double agent. It comes as no surprise to me that Severus Snape and Itachi Uchiha are arguably the most popular characters in their respective stories, despite both being antagonists for the majority of the story. Not to say that antagonists can't be popular, but very few would contest the fact that revealing both these characters were incredibly selfless individuals who put themselves in mortal danger to act as double agents for the good guys, all while bearing the scorn and vitriol of not just the protagonists but the audience as well, elevated this character's popularity. Yet, every time I rewatch the scene where this information is finally revealed to the audience, either in Naruto or Harry Potter, I find myself with polar opposite opinions of the story. One of these reveals was one of the most shocking yet believable twists that completely contextualized everything that came before it, whilst the other is an equally shocking twist which leaves the viewer questioning the logic of prior events and wondering if the author truly planned out the story or was just making it up as they went along.
My family, everyone's gone.
Yes, I can finally put that chapter away on the floor where it belongs.
Why is that? Why is it that even though the large portion of the fandom that hates his character is never shy to express why Severus Snape isn't someone who should be idolized, you never hear people claiming that the reveal that Snape was a good guy was a retcon? I swear you've got fans creating full-blown essays on why Snape was an incel and a simp, but even those guys don't question this reveal. Itachi Uchiha, on the other hand, doesn't enjoy the same charitability. Going back to as early as 2008, when the original manga chapter came out titled Itachi Itachi's truth. To as recently as this year, you can find discourse where fans refute the idea that Masashi Kishimoto always planned for Itachi to be a good guy. It's easy to label these people as casual fans who didn't properly engage with the story, but when it keeps happening over and over again, at some point you need to get off your high horse and admit that there's something in the story that leaves viewers unsatisfied with the reveal. There's literally no other plot twist in all of Naruto that generates this much debate. Even the controversial ones like Zetsu stabbing Madara tend to have most people agree that it was either a retcon or at the very least poorly foreshadowed. I feel like I should probably add that I'm a huge Naruto fan, and as it stands, it's my third favorite anime. So if you hear me saying anything negative about it, just know it's nothing personal, kid. It's just coming from a place of love, I promise. Let's get one thing out of the way. Was Itachi retconned into being a good guy? Ultimately, there's no way to truly know what was in the mind of Kishimoto over 20 years ago when he first introduced Itachi, so in order to draw a conclusion, we have to look at the story itself. There's fair arguments to be made on either side of whether or not Itachi was on the side of the village hidden in the leaves or the Akatsuki when he first showed up at the beginning of the search for Tsunade arc, but I do believe there can be no question that by the time we actually learn more about Itachi during the flashbacks at the end of Naruto Part 1, as Naruto and Sasuke clash in the final valley, Kishimoto had already made up his mind on Itachi's true nature. After all, Itachi has this line in that very flashback.
You probably hate me, huh? It's alright. People often think ill of shinobi, but with us it's different, because you and I are flesh and blood. I'm always going to be there for you, even if it's only as an obstacle for you to overcome. Even if you do hate me. That's what big brothers are for.
I believe that is as straightforward as a writer can get without spoiling their twist, and even if we go with the least charitable version of events and say that Kishimoto originally meant for Itachi to be a villain, then only changed his mind after he saw how much the audience liked Itachi, it still wouldn't account for why the reveal that Itachi was a good guy feels far more lackluster compared to Snape, as Kishimoto could have easily written around these scenes. For example, after we learned that Itachi was a good guy, Kishimoto reveals that the real reason Itachi returned to Konoha was to dissuade Danzo from trying to make a move on his brother. Danzo wasn't a character at the time, but you don't find a lot of people questioning this logic, as it makes sense. After all, third Hokage had just died. I'm going to give you a reason that you probably haven't heard before as to why this is the case. I promise I'm not just going to say we needed more foreshadowing or complain about every single potential plot hole in the story. Then, when I'm done, I'm going to give you one small change that doesn't change any major plotline at all, that I believe would fix the problem for the most part. We're going to do a little fan fiction or a rewrite of the story. So in my opinion, the real reason why Snape's reveal garners less skepticism from the audience relative to Itachi is because the latter doesn't invalidate the audience's previous notions on the character, but simply recontextualizes them. This stems from Itachi's relationship with his most significant victim, Sasuke Uchiha, and Snape's relationship with his most significant victim, Harry Potter.
Snape, Harry, 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 Harry, Dumbledore!
Starting with Itachi, we learn pretty early in the story that Sasuke has devoted his entire life to hunting down the man who murdered his entire clan, leaving Sasuke as the sole survivor. When it is revealed that this man is none other than Sasuke's older brother, the audience is left to paint a picture in their minds of what kind of man Itachi is, a monster who killed his entire family, leaving just his brother. When Itachi finally appears in the story, he certainly doesn't act like a hero. Of course, with hindsight, we can appreciate how much Itachi held back, but those who wish to argue against Itachi can counter this by saying Itachi's power was just retconned to make him far stronger than he was initially meant to be. After all, Itachi himself claims that Jiraiya would be able to defeat both him and Kisame, and even confirms this in his own thoughts, which doesn't make much sense if he originally only said this to fool Kisame. But keeping our focus on Itachi and Sasuke, when the brothers finally meet again, Sasuke is forced to grapple with the fact that after all these years, he is still as powerless against Itachi as he was the night his clan died, as Itachi relentlessly beats his brother. Then to top it all off, places him in a Tsukiyomi Genjutsu, where he is forced to watch his loved ones die repeatedly. And fans have calculated that Itachi made Sasuke witness this brutality over 518,400 times repeatedly, which I think we can all agree was rather overkill considering what we later learn about Itachi.
You couldn't do nothing to your older brother when he was murdering every single person in your clan. So I suggest you shut up like a good little Uchiha before saying something stupid like that again.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
This genjutsu is so powerful that it completely incapacitates one of the most powerful jonin in the leaf, and a ninja who was renowned throughout the entirety of the shinobi world for his feats and power. So it comes as no surprise when Sasuke shares the same fate and is also left in a coma so powerful only the most powerful healer in the shinobi world can revive him. A woman who wasn't and hadn't been in the village hidden in the leaves for years. After that, the next time Itachi and Sasuke meet is in their fated battle, though before that we see the two of them interact through flashbacks. In these flashbacks, Itachi is a very kind brother to Sasuke, yet incredibly dismissive as he never seems to have time to do the one thing Sasuke wants him to do for him. It's understandable, of course, as Itachi has his own life to live and is an Anbu captain with time-consuming missions, but at the same time, the flashbacks are structured to paint a story of Itachi growing colder and colder towards the rest of his family, not just Sasuke. We learn that he potentially killed his best friend Shisui Uchiha, a fact that Itachi refuted angrily whilst telling the officers who came to question him how easily he could kill them, then later confirms this fact when he explains to Sasuke how he awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. In the final duel between them, Itachi plays his part to perfection. He completely whoops Sasuke, but throughout the fight and immediately after, doubt is placed in the audience's mind on whether or not Itachi is truly going all out. Still, from Sasuke's perspective, Itachi was struggling to kill him and he only barely survived that encounter. It comes as no surprise that when Madara later reveals the truth about Itachi, Sasuke initially refutes it by claiming Itachi is pure evil.
There's no way that I'd ever believe you! Itachi was pure evil! He was a criminal who slaughtered our clan and became an Akatsuki!
Now let's turn our attention to Severus Snape. Whilst his introduction in the story isn't nearly as traumatizing for Harry as Itachi was for Sasuke, it's no less detestable from the audience's perspective, as the first time these two interact, Harry is writing notes like a good student, and Snape, like the terrible teacher he is, begins grilling this muggle-born child on topics he obviously wouldn't know anything about, all the while berating him on his supposed arrogance. And this is only the beginning. Throughout the story, Snape makes it his personal mission to be the biggest nuisance for Harry, on several occasions trying to get him expelled from Hogwarts, Harry's favorite place in the whole world, and purposely messing with his friends. In the books, it's a common occurrence for Snape to, in the middle of class, walk over to Harry's desk, find something wrong with his potion, and take away points from Gryffindor or simply fail Harry.
Mr. Potter, what did I tell you about talking in my class?
But I wasn't talking.
4 million points from Gryffindor.
Oh no, that's bullshit.
And this cruelty isn't just reserved for Harry but for all his friends. Malfoy and Harry duel in book 4 after Malfoy provokes Harry as usual, and both their spells hit two innocent bystanders. Harry's hits Goyle and Malfoy's hits Hermione. Snape leaves his office, finds them, punishes Harry, who made Goyle's face distort into disgusting dough, and completely ignores Malfoy, even commenting that Hermione's growing teeth are no different from her usual look. Harry's other friend Ron is actually the person who gets the most detentions, behind Harry himself of course, ranging from him simply calling out the unfairness of Snape, calling Hermione a know-it-all after asking the class a question, to the scene I described earlier where Ron was furious about Snape's indifference to the curse that had just hit Hermione and disfigured her. And of course there's Neville, who Snape famously bullied so severely that he became poor Neville's greatest fear. On one occasion, Snape harasses Neville by saying he will feed Neville's potion to his toad Trevor at the end of class, and if it's even slightly off, it will surely kill the poor animal. Neville only manages to save his toad thanks to Hermione, who spends their class whispering the correct instructions to him, a fact that disappoints Snape and leads to him taking points from Gryffindor. But going back to Harry, Snape very quickly becomes his most hated teacher and is only ever surpassed by Umbridge in book 5, though in book 6 he reclaims that position. And not only is Snape a bully who thrives off harassing children, he's also just a bad teacher for Harry, as in book 6 when Harry is finally free of Snape, we actually learn that he can be quite an accomplished potion master, ironically thanks to the help of Snape through his childbook textbook, which goes to show that if Snape had actually tried to teach Harry instead of bullying him for things that happened before Harry was even born, he might have actually been one of his best students. Snape doesn't just affect Harry's academic life, he also sabotages Harry's love life by giving Harry endless detentions for the bulk of his 6th year, so he can't spend any time with Ginny.
Harry Potter was just so annoying, you know?
I've always thought that.
Oh, okay.
But all this is nothing compared to what Snape does at the end of that book. Before Harry's very eyes, though Snape couldn't have known Harry was there, as Harry was under his invisibility cloak and being paralyzed by Dumbledore. Severus Snape murders Albus Dumbledore and delivers Hogwarts to the Death Eaters. Harry pursues Snape, desperately trying to avenge his headmaster, but he is hopelessly outmatched against Snape, who mocks him for his weakness, comparing him to his father, then leaves. Throughout the book, Harry constantly questions why Dumbledore trusts Snape so much, and of course Dumbledore refuses to give him any answers, simply stating that Snape has his full trust. So at the end, Harry is forced to accept that Dumbledore was wrong to trust this man that Harry had always hated and was punished for it. All the other characters, including Professor McGonagall and Professor Lupin, also express how they always wondered why Dumbledore put so much faith into an obviously shady character. And when Harry reveals the story that Snape fed Dumbledore about his remorse that the Potters died, all the characters are shocked at Dumbledore's naivety, as everyone knew how much Snape hated James, and Harry chimes in that he also called his mother Mudblood, thus not allowing the audience to put two and two together. The next time these two characters meet is when Harry and the Order of the Phoenix infiltrate Hogwarts, and here we see Snape's true powers. He duels 3 teachers alone, yet ultimately he is outnumbered and is forced to flee. This moment is treated by the story as completely triumphant. After that, the next interaction is when a dying Snape begs Harry to take his memories to the pensive. You already know both reveals, so I won't keep breaking down the story, but I've done so just to show that for both Sasuke and Harry, there was little love to be lost between them and the subjects of this video. Both Snape and Itachi were terrible to Sasuke and Harry, and were naturally hated by them until the truth was revealed, after which they both grew to appreciate the double agents, with Sasuke seeking to avenge his brother and Harry naming his son after Snape as a means to honor him.
Dad, what if I'm put in Slytherin?
Vernon Dudley Potter. You were named after my emotionally abusive uncle and his idiot son. They ruined my childhood.
Why would you do that?
Daddy has some issues.
Yet even though both Snape and Itachi were terrible to their respective targets, only one person has the story try to claim that their previous actions were actually altruistic all along. The reveal that Snape always loved Lily doesn't try to claim that Snape never hated Harry and everything he did to him was driven by love. In fact, and this is something the movies cut out, but after Dumbledore asks if after all these years Snape has grown to care for Harry, Snape retorts by asking for him before casting the Patronus and revealing that after all this time he still loves Lily. This reveal allows the audience to appreciate what Rowling was going for, which is that Snape had been acting on Dumbledore's orders to protect Harry, whilst at the same time not attempting to defend Snape's previous abhorrent actions. The Itachi reveal does the opposite, at least at first. When Madara first explains the truth about Itachi to Sasuke, he reveals that despite Itachi's loyalty to the Leaf Village, his love for his little brother was his greatest motivation and the one thing that he cared about more than anything else in the world. We learned that everything that Itachi had done up until that point was to protect Sasuke and the Leaf, but mostly Sasuke, and it just rings hollow. Take the Tsukuyomi thing for example. How did that protect Sasuke or the Leaf? Why couldn't he have just put Sasuke in Tsukuyomi and had him pass out immediately after beating him up? Why go out of his way to torture his little brother who he allegedly loved so much, more than anything in the world?
Listen Sasuke, I know Itachi killed every single member in your clan, and not just the men but the women and the children too, all because they opposed the fact that the Leaf was discriminating against them. Then he mocked you for being too weak, beat the bricks off you like his middle name was Batman, broke your arm, broke your mind, tried to capture your best friend, told you to kill that same best friend so he could later steal your eyes, all the while acting like he was on purposely not helping the Akatsuki to capture the Ninetales. Didn't do anything when he found out you joined the Orochimaru despite knowing that zesty snaky boy who was after your body, and even in his last moments made sure to fuck with you and made you think you were going to die because Zetsu finding out Itachi actually secretly loved his brother and allowed Sasuke to kill him would have endangered the Leaf Village somehow. But hey, at least he left you alive. He was a real sweetheart for that one. Am I right, Sasuke? Sasuke?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I believe Kishimoto himself realizes his mistake, as in the far better goodbye scene between Edo, Itachi and Sasuke, Itachi himself says that no one should say that everything he did was good, and he even apologizes to Sasuke for all he put him through and constantly lying to him whilst putting him at a distance. He apologizes for attempting to control Sasuke, and I simply believe that if the initial reveal had had this tone instead of one that attempts to change Itachi to have always been an extremely nice guy, then the audience wouldn't feel raw robbed of what they perceived as injustices and wouldn't be so quick to assume that the story was retcon. Of course, if that happened, it would rob the moment between Edo, Itachi and Sasuke of some of its punch, but I do believe the scene could still work, just Itachi revealing the additional context of the Uchiha massacre, then still apologizing to Sasuke for turning him into a criminal. But there's only one way to know if there's any merit to anything I've said. We need to pull the thread and see where it leads. Let me give you a small rewrite explaining what I would do if I could travel back in time and was allowed to give Kishimoto some suggestions. The biggest change I would make is what is most important to Itachi. In the original, it's his little brother Sasuke, but in my rewrite, I would have it be the Leaf Village above all else, even his own brother. After all, there's this line where Hashirama commends Itachi after hearing his story, declaring him to be a greater shinobi than even himself, and we all know what Hashirama values most in a shinobi. He tells Madara that he wouldn't forgive anyone, be they his friend, his brother, or even his own child, if they dared to become an enemy of the Leaf Village.
I won't forgive anyone who would dare to threaten the village, be they friend, sibling, or even my own child.
Itachi was written to be one such shinobi whose will of fire was greater than his loyalty to even his own clan, and I personally wouldn't make Sasuke the exception. Of course, I would still have Itachi love his brother and want to protect him, but just as much as he loved his clan. In the original, it doesn't seem like Itachi had much love for his clan, but he did at the very least love his parents and his girlfriend, so his love for Sasuke would be equal to his love for them. I would have Itachi grapple with the idea of why is it necessary to kill the entire clan and not just the shinobi, asking the elders for permission to spare the non-combatants and being denied as they hold the potential to seek to avenge their comrades. This is why Itachi would spare Sasuke in the end. It wouldn't be something he planned to do at the start, but he would simply believe that if he convinces Sasuke to direct all his hatred towards Itachi instead of the Leaf Village, then killing him won't be necessary, as it is heavily implied that Sasuke was the youngest living Uchiha at the time of the massacre. That would explain lines like "foster your hatred and despise me," and instead of having Itachi threaten to leak vital Leaf info if Danzo touches Sasuke, I would have Danzo question why Sasuke was left alive, and Itachi would argue that Sasuke was the only one too young to be made aware of the Uchiha coup, and as such had no risk of ever becoming a threat. That's a real line that Itachi says in the actual manga, so it works. And Itachi would say that he has ensured that Sasuke's hatred will be directed towards him, and seeing as the Leaf is going to take care of him with his family gone, Sasuke will have no reason to ever want to harm the Leaf. Then, in an ultimate show of loyalty to the Leaf, Danzo would say that Itachi is being naive and question what would happen if he wound up being wrong, upon which Itachi would say that if the day came where Sasuke became a threat to the Leaf, he would kill him. The exact same thing he asked Naruto before he died, whether he could weigh Sasuke against the Leaf Village on a set of scales. He still loves his brother, and that is the true reason he looked for any excuse not to kill him. It will also be why he shows up in the Leaf in part 1. In my rewrite, Danzo is still a weasel, so Hiruzen was the one who put his foot down saying Sasuke should be left alone, and so with Hiruzen gone, Itachi showed up to make sure that Danzo keeps his word. Also, while we're at it, we can erase a plot hole as to why Danzo didn't try to become the Hokage then and there, with Tsunade not being in the village and Jiraiya refusing the position. Itachi would tell Danzo that he won't forgive anyone who puts himself above the village, and Danzo is one such man. If he tried to become the Hokage, Itachi will kill him, and Danzo knows that Itachi isn't bluffing because he's Itachi. But this latter plot point isn't important for the video. What's important is the former, and this to me is an incredibly small change that wouldn't alter the story in any huge way. But if this had been the reveal Madara gave Sasuke about his older brother, then none of Itachi's earlier actions are questionable. It makes sense why he tortured Sasuke, as his greatest priority is to ensure that his hatred is forever directed towards Itachi, on top of wanting Sasuke to become stronger. Also, this reveal doesn't try to change Itachi into being a perfect dude. In fact, I would completely delete the line of Itachi being a pacifist, as he literally genocided his own clan, so the statement is a borderline plot hole if you ask me. Then, in the final ever interaction between Edo, Itachi and Sasuke, Itachi would acknowledge that not only did he go too far in trying to get Sasuke to hate him, and it completely backfired as Sasuke still wound up trying to go after the Leaf, but maybe if he had trusted his brother and explained the situation to him instead of trying to manipulate him, then he wouldn't have to ask for his forgiveness. It's the exact same scene as in the original, but I feel that had it been structured this way, far fewer people would feel robbed and assume that it was a retcon. This little fan fiction doesn't fix every little issue that people have with Itachi or Naruto as a series, but that was never my intent. I don't believe Naruto as a series needs a full rewrite, and I do hope that by borrowing from Rowling's writing in Harry Potter, I've been able to fix the one issue I've always had with the Itachi reveal without altering the entirety of Naruto or undoing Kishimoto's vision of the character. After all, if my goal had been to make Itachi a completely logical person whose goal was to protect the belief at all costs, I'd start by saying, maybe don't work with the guy who recently tried to destroy it, or for the guy who murdered your best friend and stole his eye. But hey, I ain't a genius, so maybe Itachi's big brain strategy is just too complex for me. Like and subscribe. We're on the road to 1 million subscribers, so if you made it to the end of the video, then comment who the better sneaky boy is, Voldemort or Orochimaru, to prove to all the latecomers that you are a pioneer. And with that, I'm gone.